Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I just want to say thank you guys for joining us again tonight for a third episode of the Whole You Candid Conversations.
Hi.
And I am here with a very special guest, Dee-Dee Moore. She is life coach of Convy Sessions.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Um, hey, I am the owner of Convy Sessions Life Coaching, and I am excited to be here. Thank you, Maquilla.
I'm excited to have you. And as always, I always tell the viewers, like, I've known, see, I gotta mess my hair. I've known Dee. I call her Dee, but
That's
I've known Dee for some years, and we went to school together. And we kind of went our separate ways, but we've always sort of, remained Facebook friends. And so I think we kind of saw each other evolve over the years.
absolutely.
Yes. So I want to get into it. And before I do, I just want to go ahead and put the plug out there. Plug your information. So just so you know, like I said, Dee-Dee Moore is a life coach for Convy Session. You guys, she is amazing. She is my life coach. She is my life. I like to think of her as more than a life coach. I like to think of her as a therapist. But
Yeah,
she's working on that, right?
I'm working. Here it is. I'm repping my brand today. This is, of course, I'm listening. I'm a therapist. I am
Do it
currently,
again because I had the banner block your shirt.
it's,
I love it.
yes, I'm listening. I'm a therapist. That is the end goal for me. So I give therapy under life coaching. So it goes hand in hand.
Amazing. And so this is her information, guys. Go ahead and follow her. She is Convy Session all across the social media platforms on Facebook and as well as on IG. Um, and if you want to learn more about her and book a session, I'm telling you, life changing. I'm sure there's so many other people that can vouch for her. Um, we've been at it for what, 2 years, a year and a half?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. So we've been at it for a year and a half, and I can just tell you that the results are amazing. She has walked me through a lot, and I credit her a lot for who I am today and where I am right now in my life. So
Aw.
she's worth it. This is her link tree, guys, and tell us about your link tree. What could they find on your link tree?
On my link tree, you'll find information about me, the individual, as the life coach, as the aspiring therapist. Sometimes it's kind of hard for people to book with people that they've never interacted with. So you get to read information about myself. You also get to ask questions. There you have your different links of the different type of sessions it is that you would like. I do offer services for kids. A lot of people don't know that, but starting at the age of 7, I do offer services for 7-year olds up to teenagers. And then I also do couples and family sessions as well. So it's
Mhm.
all in the link. Find all that information. And if you do have any questions or concerns, as I stated, and as Marcola stated, I am Convy Session across all social media platforms. So
Mhm.
you can send me a message and I'll make sure to respond to you.
Amazing. So that's her link tree. You make sure you guys go ahead and follow her. So I would love, first off, tell me about Convy Session. It's actually called Convalescence. I think you told me the name of it before
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's Convy, which is short for convalescence, which is
Mhm.
a place to heal. When you hear of a convalescence home, which is a place, a home of, usually we call it like a rehab center, but
Yeah.
it's really a place where someone goes and they heal. They heal from trauma, they heal from accidents, they heal from abuse, they heal from some of everything it is that you can think of. And it's also in conjunction with conversation. Conversation bring about healing. So this is how I formatted and got Convy. We have conversation.
Yes. Um, and so you are a life coach, and let's talk about this because you and I were talking about this a little bit. What is the difference between a life coach and before I go there, I was gonna say something I forgot. Her services are affordable. I mention that because that's very important, especially for our community. Um, everybody and their mama is in therapy right now because of the pandemic, and there are some people who may need therapeutic services. She isn't a therapist, but let me tell you, it is like talking to a therapist. Actually, some people, even celebrities, prefer life coaches over therapists. So she has made her services affordable to the community, and I think it's just amazing because it was the reason why I took advantage. Plus, I know who you are now. So y'all go ahead to her link tree. I ain't gonna say it again. But anyway,
I would.
back to what I was so again, elaborate. What is the difference between a life coach and a therapist?
Regulations is really what the difference is.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a therapist, someone who has gone to school, they've gotten the qualifications,
Mm-hmm.
they have become, I won't even just say certified, but they have developed a technical way of doing things. When it comes down to life coaching, because of the regulations, there are things that we can talk about in your life coaching session that we can't talk about as a therapist. There are ways that I can follow up with you as a life coach that I could not follow up with you as a therapist. So if you want something more personable, if you want something that offers more accountability, life coaching is the way to go.
Yeah.
If you therapist, someone that's going to give you technicalities as far as this is what the book says, this is how you do this is how you respond to this, then that's the route that you should go. It's absolutely nothing wrong with a therapist. Again, I'm on the road to it. One that's going to give
Oh,
you
I'm sorry.
if you need something more detailed and if you need something more, and I'm going to speak for me because I don't know what all other life coaches do, but if you need more accountability and if you need more accessibility, that's what I will say. My clients are able to reach me at any time. If I'm available, I'm responding. If I'm not, they know that I'm coming. Give me to the morning and I'm going to, make sure that I respond, as opposed to your therapist who would not be able to have that interpersonal relationship with you.
Yes. And I actually like the fact that having the difference between a therapist, because I've done both. I've even done it while doing my sessions with you, and I actually prefer my sessions with you over a therapist. A lot of people think that life coach is kind of like just holding your hand, and I just want to say, and I want you to elaborate on that, but I just want to say that is furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
You give us assignments and you hold us accountable and you keep it straight. So can you elaborate more on that?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of my mottos is accountability brings about responsibility. If I can get you accountable, I can get you responsible. The thing is
Mhm.
not to hold your hand. The thing is not to enable you. When we first start off, we kind of like go through some of your plans, some of what it is that you have, any pressing concerns that are going on in life. And we kind of fine tooth comb those things and put your focus where it needs to be. Once we develop that plan, you have assignments, you have things that I'm looking for. Um, my clientele is not that huge to where I don't know if something is missing. So if I told someone, hey, I want this by Wednesday, I'm going to know by Wednesday night that I did not get it from them. And I'm asking the necessary questions because, again, that accountability brings about that responsibility. You laughing, Cooler, because I done had to pull up on
I
you.
know. If she would text you too.
And
Yeah.
that's the difference as far as life coaching and your therapist isn't really going to do that because are they
Mhm.
have time to go over it? Well, why not? What happened? Whereas opposed to when I recognize that I did not get what I asked from you, let's nip this in the bud now. Let's not wait until your next session because
Mhm.
I don't know what your monetary issue is. You may not book a session for another 6 weeks. We
Mhm.
still need to address what we need to address so
Yeah.
that you progress. So, yeah.
And one of the other things that I like is because not all the time you're accessible. You make yourself accessible to your clients. And obviously there's boundaries and y'all can't be she not 24/7. But but you are accessible, and that one for me, that is one of the difference between a life coach and a therapist. A therapist will make their self accessible, but they're not easily accessible, whereas I could text Dee-Dee and she gonna respond. And if she don't respond, I know she will, but you are very good at making yourself accessible to your clients and supporting them. because we do have hiccups.
Yeah.
I have called and in mental breakdowns, and she made herself available. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Um, so we somebody commented, and I get distracted easily, y'all. So if I'm looking to the side, I'm not ignoring you. I am making sure I'm reading comments and stuff.
No, it's
But
okay.
um, so I wrote down questions and I'm looking at them and I'm kind of like, I don't want to ask these questions, and I always do this. Talk about trauma. How I know, so you as a life coach don't are not tasked with diagnosing. That's not what you do. You
Right.
don't do that. But obviously you deal with so many aspects when it comes to mental health and other things that is related to the client. You can't just overlook it. And so I know you offer guidance and support. I want to make that clear. You offer guidance
Yeah.
and support and helping the person, gain some clarity and get through whatever issue they're facing. So trauma is definitely one of those things. Every one of us, almost every one of us has experienced trauma at some point of our life. I want to say everyone, because a lot of people think that trauma is related to childhood or what their parents did. No, it's so many levels. But how does trauma show up and or affect our lives?
Okay. As you stated, a good percentage, I'm going to say, and no, I may not be able to diagnose you as of now. However, I am in school, so I'm able to give you the best of both worlds. I just want to put
Yeah.
that
Yes.
those. I want to say it's about 78% of people deal with childhood trauma. If it is in childhood, it's adolescent, it's teen, it's adult. Trauma usually stems from rejection. At some a time of life, rejection set in, and it opened up doors for abandonment. It opened up doors for isolation. It opened up doors for insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma is just one of those things of figuring out, how did your root go? Did your trauma make you feel abandoned? Did your trauma make you feel rejected? Did your trauma trigger off you feeling insecure? How did your trauma affect you? And then you go into your present day and you look and you see, I operate like this, and I don't like that I operate like this. Why do I operate like this? One
Mm-hmm.
fine tooth combing, you're going to go back down to one of those roots and you find out exactly, man, this is what happened. My mom didn't say this. My dad did this. My brother did this. My friend did this. My teacher said this. And this is why I function the way that I function when it comes down to certain situations. Once
Mm-hmm.
you get the knowledge of that, you now have the responsibility of healing that trauma and doing something totally different. But
And
you don't know that it's trauma until you actually sit down and actually deal with it.
And that's the crazy thing, is a lot of us don't know that we have or are that we are or have experienced trauma. And I was and I'm gonna bring this up, but I was listening to when I'm at work, I listen to podcasts, and I listened to the Breakfast Club, and they had a guest on there. And his name was Resma. I forget his last name, but he's an author and a therapist. But he was talking about, I wrote this down because I forgot, continuous oh my God. I wrote it down and I forgot where I wrote it. Um, let me find it. Let me find it, D. Because
Okay.
I made a point to write this down so I wouldn't forget the name, because I really thought that that was really interesting. And continuous traumatic stress.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that because it made me think like trauma is not just one dimension. Yes, we might have experienced trauma in our childhood and somewhere in our adolescence, but we continue to experience as adults. And as Black people, we experience trauma on so many levels, external, internal, whatever. So I really wanted to talk about trauma because that is what most of us are experiencing, especially during the pandemic and after the pandemic. And some of us have taken the responsibility to seek help. Some of us don't know what that looks like. And even those who are recovering or getting through it, we still have the residue because we haven't dig deep. My other question is, does trauma affect how we make decisions in our life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every just a view of mine, every decision that you make should be from a place of peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're still dealing with trauma, you're not making that decision from a place of peace. One thing that you brought up was about during the pandemic, right? A
Yeah.
lot into full survival mode. And if you notice, those people are people who like really didn't have anything. They
Yeah.
were fearful, they were afraid. That's a trauma response. What are you remembering? You remember the days where you didn't have enough. You remember the days that you were out, the days
Mm-hmm.
you had to ask. All of those things build up, and it could just look so surface like, oh, I just want to make sure I have enough tissue and enough food. But there is subliminally that trauma under there that you have not dealt with that made you respond in such a way. So yes, our trauma affects our decision making skills every single day. Every single
Yeah.
day.
I wanted to add to that because my husband and I, when we started the pandemic, we were like panicked. And you know what it made me think about? Y2K. My mom, we was like, we was, we're expecting the everything to be shut
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
And I remember everyone went to the grocery store like right before New Year's Eve, buying all the water, buying the spam. We didn't even eat spam. No shade to spam. I've never had it, so I don't know what it tastes like. But my mom was buying spam, pork and beans, everything that was sustainable.
Yeah.
And we went to sleep, woke up, and everything was okay. So when this happened, I think most of us who experienced that, we thought that when the world shut down, we were like, oh, it's going to be like this for a week and everything is okay. But reality set in. And for me and my husband, we were literally in the stores every week. And I think we might have spent easily almost $5,000 within those first 3 months. Just
Wow.
thinking like, we got to keep buying tissue. We got to keep buying this. We got to keep buying that. For a while, we couldn't find those things. And then we can find them and we were just buying them up like crazy. So, I'll say all that to say, like, that is just an example of how trauma shows up. And when you say it goes back, I think about my childhood when we didn't have, and I just refused to sit in a pandemic and not have anything.
Yeah, yeah. And even in people who do like hoarding, I
Mhm.
like that. I watch shows like Hoarding, 600 Pound Life, and things like that. I watch it more so for the psychological angle of it,
Yeah.
right? And we think about people that hoarder, we think about the massiveness. They got this big man house and they have this and they have that.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are hoarding right now today with like excessive clothes, excessive shoes. You don't have those things just because, oh, I want to look nice and all of that. These are hoarding things that you're doing because at one point in time, somebody said something about you. Somebody says you wasn't fresh. Somebody says you wasn't cute. Something happened and it
Mm-hmm.
down to that. And what you thought was healing you is now hindering you. There are people
Yeah.
who broke because they want to make sure that they have this and have that. And they're doing it in a way to try to heal that part of them that was hurt instead of just acknowledging it happened. Let me address the moment and not try to put a band-aid on it. So
Can
yeah.
I say that some people don't even know that they can address it or acknowledge? Because we're the elder millennials. We get blamed for everything, by the way.
Yeah.
But people forget we pushing 40. But we're the millennial generation, and we still grew up around those same traditions where everything was kept quiet.
Yeah.
So now that we're adults, we have even taught our children that. Some of us have kind of got away from that, but we still feel like we have to live in secrecy.
Yeah.
How do you change that perspective for people?
Oh my God. It's really an honest conversation that one has to have within themselves. And to tell you the truth, everybody is just not ready.
Yeah.
Um, it requires a nakedness, an exposure. And I have to admit that I'm put out to be. I'm not who I've portrayed to be. I have this hurt. I have this pain. And
Mhm.
you have to risk basically being viewed, and everybody just isn't ready. Once people are ready to be naked, they can have that conversation. But until then, they're going to continue to do the things that mask all of that pain and hurt.
Man,
Yeah.
that's so deep.
How do you get ready is one of those age on questions, because there's really no prep. It's one of those things of, once you really get tired, you can say that you're tired, but as soon as a quick fix come, you'll brush it back under the rug. But eventually that rug is going to pile up, and so you're either going to continue to keep stepping on it, or you're going to pull it back and say, I'm ready to sweep it. And it's really a matter of tolerance.
Yeah.
And fortunately for our community, our tolerance is high,
Yeah.
because to be quiet, we had to, not tell anybody. I remember 4 or 5 years old, walking home from school. Don't tell nobody you walking home from school. Here's the key under here. Don't open up the door. Somebody come knock on the door. You don't do this. You don't do. We've been groomed for
Yeah.
time. We've been groomed for this.
And I think for people forget that us elder millennials, we were also latchkey kids.
Yeah.
So, but you said something about that, like, where you said like we have a high tolerance in our community. I think, and I want your opinion on this. I think that's why we struggle with what's being put out there on social media. I am not a therapist. I did go to school for it. So a lot of what I learned is from a therapist view, if you will. So I see things differently. Like somebody might look at something and call it this. I feel like that's the surface. I've always looked at people beyond what I see at surface, because I feel like it's something that led to that person's actions or behavior. So a lot of the people now, they get on social media and they talk about, sexual abuse. They talk about issues. And I want to be specific because I think most of my audience here are Black. So it's no discrimination against anyone. But I know within our own community, we don't address certain things, the issues between our relationships, men and women, how men feel about us, how we feel about men. So now that all of that stuff is coming up, everybody's like, so social media just ruined everything. If we didn't have social media, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I feel like things have to come to the surface, because how else are we going to heal?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I agree with that. I think it kind of goes back to one of those things of the hush hush, right?
Yes.
We can't talk about, what we can discuss, what shouldn't be said, and also again tolerance, what's been accepted in the African American community. If you go back our age and above, being molested was common. You didn't talk about that. You didn't address that. Your father not being at home, that was something common. You didn't address that. You guys had no food in the house. Your lights and stuff like that was cut off. You didn't talk about that. You didn't address that. So now with this new age has come a different level of freedom, if you will. They're not talk about anything, and it makes the hush hush generation uncomfortable, because now you're operating in a freedom that I would have gotten booked for. I would have got I would have been disciplined for this. I would have been shunned for this. If I went to school and told somebody what was going on with me, they'd have talked about me. They'd have laughed at me, where now it's being more accepted. So you have two generations fighting against each other. Well, I'm not even going to say two. You have this wing and this wing fighting against each other.
Yep. That's what it comes down to, is like, what is acceptable, what is palatable, what is respectable, what is decorum, all them things.
Yeah.
But
we have from the idea of our way is law. If I make spaghetti and I make mines with the meat and sauce, and I mix it all together, and you just like your sauce and stuff separated, it's still spaghetti, right? Still spaghetti, but because you don't do it my way, then you're wrong. Your ideology of it is wrong, and you're this and you're that. Once we from that, I think conversations really can happen with people being heard. But we have so many people, my way is right. It didn't work for you, so the way that I'm doing this is right. And false perception.
Yes, it definitely is. And just looking at some of the comments, someone said that people are referred to as being sensitive. And I hate that, because I'm like, it's not anything wrong with talking about your experience. I understand that some people might not be comfortable with it, but I feel like when you see people on TikTok or whatever, and they're sharing their experience about what they've experienced in the household as far as abuse or any other trauma, I feel like that's a cry for help. And it's like we as a community need to be able to be open. I know everybody can't is not comfortable, so they don't know how to help people, and some people don't. They need help,
Yeah.
so they don't even know how to respond to that because it's become normal for them to experience that.
Yeah.
So I get that, but when I see that, I always comment on those videos because I'm like that person is crying for help. You know, they need a word just to hold on,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what I like. So I don't think it's being sensitive.
Not being sensitive again is just a matter of perception. You
Yeah.
know, you're considered strong if you have a high tolerance and you just endure things and you don't complain about it and you don't express yourself. That's considered a badge of honor. But internally, you're breaking down. Internally, you're having all of these mental anguish battles that are going on. I think people view it sometimes as people being sensitive in the way that they deliver it,
Yeah.
because go on a tantrum and you're posting 15, 16 times a day,
Yeah.
right? And then someone's commenting on there. They're giving you some attention, but then you're saying, well, nobody loves me and this, and
Yeah.
that. Now you've offended the person that is reaching out to you, right? So
Mhm.
the whole view goes of not just you're crying for help, but now you want attention. And
Yeah.
that's a part that we're not able to do the fine line with. One thing I always encourage is like, I know that we have people that are our friends, but your friends are not your therapists. I don't care what any well, I don't want to say that because I have friends. I do have friends that I
Yeah.
can be therapists to. However, if your friend is not skilled and qualified in this, you need to get you somebody that you can really talk to, because you're pouring out to somebody who's also in a situation where they need to be poured into as well.
Yes.
Carry yourself, and so now you're frustrated and they're not a real friend and they're not showing up for you. They don't know how to show up for themselves, not at this particular time.
2 points from what you said, discernment,
Yeah.
because when it comes down to what you share and who you share with, have discernment.
Yeah.
That's very important. And also not expecting everyone to come running to your aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so hard. I didn't deal with that as much, but I dealt with that.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly it came from a place of like, well, I was your support. Why you can't support me?
Yeah.
And I had to let that go because I
Yeah.
had to realize they couldn't give to me,
Yeah.
what I needed. Someone said having deep conversations is important to expose what you may not even realize is trauma.
True.
Yes. Yeah.
Conversation. This is the whole convy. Conversations bring about healing. It's not some mythical magical thing. It's not something that is so like a heavy formula to it. If you want to heal, you need to talk.
Yes. And
If
it's
you want
so
to heal,
helpful. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm talking. um, how does trauma affect our relationships? Because we're kind of segue into that.
yeah. How does it affect our it? How does it not affect your relationship? Um, One thing I have discovered over the past couple of years, my childhood trauma has sculpted me as a parent. So I'm trying to parent my children based off of what I endured. But
Mm,
my kids don't have a mother who's on drugs. So the way I'm trying to parent them, they're rejecting it. They don't need me to go extra above and beyond because I already give them enough. Once I finally dealt with that trauma, I was able to perceive my children not as being disrespectful and ungrateful, but these are children that I actually raised and I love. I don't need to heal myself by doing something extra for them. I need to heal me by doing something for me. So when you ask how does trauma affect relationships, just even something as simple as that, me mothering from a place that I was not mothered, and my children rejected it because it was something that they did not need.
that is so good. I'm just adjusting my camera a little bit. Okay. Because it was like slipping. Anyway, as I play around with that. Um, let's talk about self-awareness. Because one of the important parts of doing therapy or in the coaching process is you have to develop, and I mean when I say you, I mean the client. You have to develop self-awareness. That's the only way that you could, gain a clarity to heal and get through your issues. Um, what are the necessary parts? of the coaching process, well, I wrote that. What is vital in developing self-awareness? That's what I meant to say.
Accountability. That's
Mm-hmm.
the vital part. Um, One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to you, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to listen to what you're not saying.
Yes.
And I pull out what you're not saying that you should have said. I'm looking for you to take accountability for that. Once you take accountability for that, that develops that layer for self awareness. You know what? I do this. I am short tempered. I am impatient. I am this. I am that. Once you are aware of that and you take accountability for that, then you can start healing it. But if you do not take accountability, it's all just you venting, you're just talking.
Yes. Oh, I love that. It just makes me think about my own journey and being self-aware. And like one of the other things about once you unlock that door of self-awareness, it becomes a part of your everyday life. You are constantly I'm a rational person. I'm logical. My mind is my computer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about 50 million things before I say or do something.
Yeah.
So I like try to rationalize it in my mind. So I've always been that way, but I've never had the time to like just sit in myself. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is just self-reflecting, thinking about like why did I do that? What led me to that decision?
Yeah.
And also thinking about like was that good or bad, and if it was bad, how can I prevent that or stop doing that the next time?
Yeah.
So I did not develop that until our sessions,
Yeah.
and you guided me into self-awareness. So
Yeah.
that was I just wanted to say that. How
Yeah.
do you assist your clients in becoming aware of themselves?
Oh my God. Again, you're going to hear me say this a lot, accountability.
Yeah.
How do by again listening to what they're not saying and
Hmm.
speaking it back to them in a language that they're going to understand and not be offended by, right?
Hmm.
People who I can say, girl, stop playing with me. You did that. But
Yeah.
then I have to say, so wait a minute, this happened and that happened. But what did you say? What did you do? So the way that I assist is by being attentive to the client, who I'm dealing with, knowing their character, knowing how they function, and then challenging them on it each and every time, not letting them sleep. Like I said, there are clients who I have. Um, I may hear from them 2, 3 times a week. They may book 2 or 3 sessions a week. I
Hmm.
have some I may not hear from them for 5 or 6 weeks, but there's still accountability that's in there because
Hmm.
once you pull back one layer, you'll notice it's like an onion. If you pull
Yeah.
on an onion, right? Even that very thin layer, it has so many layers to it. So you
Hmm.
celebrate those small victories that I don't want to call them small. You can't celebrate just that one victory you got because in that victory, there's still some stuff that has to be pulled and cleaned out of there.
Yeah.
So, how do I get them there? Accountability. Yes, you did awesome with this. However, comma, this is right here. This is something that we need to work on because if you don't do that, this layer is going to fold back over and it's going to bring another harder shell that we're going to have to work even harder to get off of you.
Um, so I'm gonna pull from the comments, and I want to say, Jackie, I'm gonna hold your comment because I think that one is really good. But so someone said self-awareness brings out that place of vulnerability. So how does a client, how as a client do you get comfortable in being in that place?
It's one of those things of developing a relationship with your coach, with your therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Look at the history, and there are some people who are very private who do not like to talk about, them being in
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. A lot of my clientele is by referral,
Yeah.
so look at the progression of the person who referred you, right?
Yeah.
Or look at the character of the person it is that you're speaking with and test them out. I tell my clients, test me out. See how much you can trust me with. See how much you feel safe with me. And until I offend you, which I plan not to, you're safe with me. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to be to somebody to be with me. So the way that you get vulnerable is number one, scouting out who it is that you are speaking with. Look at their track record. Look at their character. Look at their behavior. Do they seem reputable? Do they seem, I have some very rowdy clients who
Yeah.
have no problem posting, my therapist told me da 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 da. But
Me.
I don't share conversations or anything like that. I don't,
Mhm.
put any of my clients or anything like that out because I value confidentiality.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll say, if you want to be vulnerable, look and see what that person confidentiality contract is even saying. Look and see what they speak and say on that. I have a contract strictly for confidentiality because I want people to know that, like, you could be totally naked with me and I can see every blemish, every dent, every dimple, and we'll fix it. I put some makeup on that. And then leave out my presence. I'm like, come on, girl, with your fine self.
It's all about creating a safe
Yes, it's all.
space.
So to be vulnerable, just feel the vibes of who you can feel safe with.
I would have to say you have no issue, you have no problems with making sure that that comes across. I think my first session, I was boohooing with you.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop crying. I mastered just a little bit because it was every time we was talking, I was like, I'm not crying today. I
But
was,
that's
and
also
it's so
conversation.
yeah.
Conversation. And again, as I stated earlier, we consider it a badge of honor because I can endure, I'm strong, and I'm this and that. That's a false narrative.
Mhm.
You gotta cry. That's a form of therapy. That's a form of release.
For me, my tears, my cries was hushed. And
Yeah.
so as I got older, I was like, I gotta suck it up. So I wanted to go to the other part of this, but I do want to acknowledge that the comment gentle parenting is a new way to address parenting trauma. I'm not the best, but I tried to parent the way that I wanted to. I'm not the best. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm not the best, but I tried to parent the way I wanted to be raised. And I think you talked about this.
Yeah.
I think you talked to me. You want to add, you want to comment on that?
I do. I want to say this as far as the whole gentle parenting thing, right? You have to know the DNA of your child. Every child is not going to respond to gentle parenting. That doesn't mean abuse them, but what it means is you have to learn the language that your child speaks. I
Mhm.
have two children who speak two totally different languages.
Yeah.
There's one I can say XYZ and I'll get it. There's one I'm going to have to say, Mary had a little lamb, and if her fleece was white as snow, 6 plus 6 is this. And then how do you have to know the language of your child. You have to.
Mhm.
And that comes with, spending time. And spending time with your kid is more than just I feed you, I clothe you, I do those type of things. You have to look at their patterns, at their behavior. That way you know how to parent them. Gentle parenting is not going to work for every DNA that you have. And you have to think about you're not just dealing with this child, you're dealing with you in this child. Your
Yeah.
daddy in this child, the child
Mhm.
father, his mom, daddy, their everything it is that they dealt with. Can
Yeah.
that be gentle? Can you be gentle with that, or do you need to be firm with that? Once
Mhm.
you figure that out, then you develop your strategy as far as how you want to parent. Or you book a session with me and let's talk about your kid, and then we'll go.
Yes. Yes. I want to say, Jackie, she made that comment. I hope she don't mind me calling her out because she's a friend. I
Okay.
really feel like that what her and her husband do with their kids is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, she commented again. Can you see the comments,
I,
D?
I left my other phone on the table.
Okay, no, it's okay. I'll read them to you, and if anyone has questions, I'll post them so
Okay.
that you can see them on the screen. But she just said I grew up with profanity being common, and I think that was most of our experience. I mean, I same for me as well, and um I when my kids are young, that's what I did. My two oldest kids, oh my God, they got the worst of it. And like I'm different with my I think I know God did that intentionally because I have a son with special needs. And
Okay.
it's a whole set of patience that you have to have with
Mhm.
kids with special needs. But my youngest son, he gets the best of me.
Mhm.
And it makes me think about what I wasn't able to give to my older two kids. Because they always remind me, like, if I did that, you would have did this.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm not guilty about that. Not anymore. I used to be. We worked that out. But it just makes me appreciate not just him, but just appreciate all of them. But I appreciate how I parent him now.
Yeah.
But it is times that I have to be firm
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Yeah.
It, developing, and even like you said, her and her husband. A lot of people are not necessarily two parent homes, right? The
Yes.
gentle parent movement that's happening. A lot of people are not two parent homes. So whereas in you want to be gentle, but then there's also a voice of disciplinary that has to be set, because you have to know that there's a consequence to everything we do. And
Yeah.
consequence not being good or bad. It's just a reaction to whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
So Jackie, I love that. I do. I love that. I just don't parent kids, not right now.
And it's I wanted to add this. It's okay. If you're trying to do the gentle parenting method, I really just don't think there's a difference. I really don't. But if I think it comes down to communication, choosing words over your hands. Okay. That's how I view it.
But also look at, why do we have to call it gentle parenting? Why,
Yes.
why are we identifying it as that?
And that's my point. That's exactly my point, because it makes the person feel guilty. Look, understanding parenting, and this also goes back to trauma, is what I've learned is, and this has helped me to forgive my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I learned is that in our history as Black people, people have been harsh to their kids to protect them. This is literally, that's something that came off the plantation. I did my research, but this is literally something that a lot of what we do has come from the plantation, and it passed down generation to generation. And the way our parents parented us was their way of protecting us. The
Right.
way their parents did it was to protect them because of the way they were treated. Our ancestors were treated. I read something where they talked about the master would literally beat the kid,
Yeah.
and parents would step in and say, no, I'll do it,
Yeah.
because they didn't want the master to be harsh on their kids. And
Right.
that made me think, like, that goes down from generation to generation. Also, how we're being tough on our sons. We
Yeah.
don't want the cops. We don't want them out on the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What you think about that?
It's a thing from generation to generation in that aspect of it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then the flip side of that, being abusive was a sign of authority. So
Yes.
when they gave some Black people freedom, here it is, they're mimicking what it is that they've seen. So because of that, I'm going to be authoritative, and I'm going to handle you the way that I was handled so that you can respect me. And that all stems from a place of insecurity.
Yeah.
So greats was insecure, and they trickled that down, and they trickled that down, and grandmama and big mama and all of them. This is why there are certain questions you cannot ask. There are certain things you cannot say. There are certain ways you cannot look, because now you're reminding me that my grandmama told me that this was disrespectful and the white man would do something.
Yes.
So you don't do that to me. So you have both sides of that spectrum right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because of protection, so we think, and we're being abused because of respect. So
Yes. Because our people didn't have that. And I want to make that clear. That's not an excuse.
yeah.
But in order for us to get to a place of healing, which is where I'm going to segue into, in order for us to get to a place of healing, especially with the trauma that we experienced by the hands of our parents, is we got to kind of understand where it come from.
Yeah.
And that has been my journey of trying to understand where things come from. And it literally started on the plantation. So I just found that interesting. So it isn't the job of the coach to heal, although you do have conversations that do heal,
Mm-hmm.
but to provide tools and resources that can help guide people through it. What are your 3 key takeaways regarding the healing process?
One is the honesty. I'm affected. I'm wounded. I'm hurt. I'm this. Act this there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledging that. 2, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and being patched up and worked on allowing stuff to be amputated, allowing the antiseptics and all of those things.
Yeah.
We can say, hey, you're wrong. Hey, the way that you said that, you're out of order. Hey, the way that you did this, you can do better with that. 3 is the recovery, not just
Mm.
healing. There's a recovery from that. You can't just think, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to expose this, and then boom, it's done. I'm healed. It
Mm.
just work like that. There's a recovery and demonstration stage. If you're recovering, you have to demonstrate that you're now able to walk out this new journey. That's going to display your healing.
Yes. Yes. I love that. How, so going back to the continuous traumatic stress, how can we as Black people deal with that? Because we face it daily. And what I mean by face it, when we seeing Black men get, our people, because it's not just Black men, but when you see on the news or social media, Black men getting shot. I think a Black man, they show a Black man getting shot last week, executioner style.
Wow.
Just the other day, a little boy was being snatched up by the cops in New York. Um, that's repeated trauma, and we've almost become what do you say? Highly,
Yeah.
highly. What was the word? No, say it again.
Desensitized.
Desensitized. Okay, because my mind. We've become desensitized. Like we'll see it, it bothers us, but it's like we've taken that beating so much it doesn't hurt us anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your advice on dealing with that?
Do what you can within your circle, within your region. What are you able to do?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we turn our head not because it doesn't bother us, but what's within my power? What can I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
So, in that sense, have these conversations with your husbands, with your fathers, with your sons. Be proactive, speak life to them, encourage them, make them feel empowered so that they can make sound decisions so that they're not in wrong places at wrong times.
Yeah.
It's small seeds that you can do until we can, as a body, come about a movement with it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start within your circle, within a way that you can reach. That's what you do.
I would like to add, because you said this and you said this multiple times, is talk about it.
Yeah.
I think we get so comfortable with just ignoring it. Like we will talk about all of the celebrity news and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have to dwell on it. And I think some people will say like, oh, we don't want to talk about that. But
Yeah.
I'm like, how else are we supposed to heal? Because I feel like once we talk about it, we can come to a place of healing, discuss these things, and then we maybe can come together and challenge some of these things. Not everybody is an activist. Not everybody is going to fit in that role. But as long as we keep putting our pieces of paper in the punch bowl, and then we can start digging deep and pulling things out and addressing it. So that's one of my things, is like talk about it. Real quick, let's talk about the dynamics of, thank you, Jackie. Let's talk about the dynamics of our relationships. So when you hear, so trending is a lot of the men saying that they don't date Black women. I know this is a little deep or somewhere else, but I bring it up because it's a trending thing, because so many times you see the comments, women need to submit. I know that that's true, but have you been watching it? Have you been paying attention to it? Do you have any input?
I see it, but I see it from a place of, again, let's go back to the plantation. Let's go back to what was viewed as beautiful, what was viewed as right, what was viewed as wholesome. These are feelings that I just don't want to be with a Black woman because a Black woman can't submit. These are ideologies that your great 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 granddaddy done told his great 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 grandkids, and now you feel like that's what that is. It's not, if you honestly have a conversation with a man who feels like that or says those things, if you talk to him, these are things that has been developed. His idea of a Black woman can't submit has nothing to do with a woman never submitted to him. This is what he may have seen with his mom and his dad, and what his dad felt over something that he has absolutely no clue about. You don't know that your daddy was cheating out here with 16, 17 different women, and your mama got tired of it. But because she loves you, a mother's love for a son is so different. But because she loves you and want to protect you from it, and you not be exposed to it, you're looking at her as if she's the one that's in the wrong when she was trying to protect his image. So now you've developed a feeling that you don't even really, it's an inordinate feeling.
Yeah.
What I feel about it, I feel like it's a conversation that needs to happen so that the person can heal. Why do you feel like that? Do you want to? And there's nothing wrong with interracial dating, but make sure that you want to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black
And I think go ahead. I'm sorry.
Black women are very submissive.
Yeah.
But what am I submitting to? Am
Yeah.
I submitting to you abusing me? Am I submitting to you functioning like you are an old slave trader? I'm not going to do that when I know what freedom tastes like.
Yeah.
So I can submit to you, but what am I submitting to?
Oh, I like that because that's so important. And the reason why I bring this topic up is because I think it's so important for us to have these conversations so that we can learn how to cultivate healthy relationships. I can say that so many people, like I said, we're the elder millennials, the generation before us, they kind of, and I'm speaking in regards to the woman, they kind of dealt with a lot of things. Because it's like, well, I have to, or it came from a place of like, what am I gonna do? Because a lot of we've had kids out of wedlock, so you feel like you have to be. That was the idea. I think of it as like we feel like that's the ideal life.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not married, and I mean back then that people wanted to be married, I think now people are like, I don't have to be married. And so I feel like a lot of people think that is the ideal life to have a kid, but not really realizing that bringing a whole nother person into this is a whole nother set of commitments and rules. And it kind of makes the thing, if you have not established a healthy relationship between you and that guy, then that kid ain't gonna make it better.
It's going to be detrimental. And again, it's one of those things of doing a calculation of how much DNA is in this person that you're dealing with. So every your mother's side and your father's side and you and the father, his mother, his father, is all now being poured into this kid that you now have to cultivate.
Yeah.
With your broken self, with
Yeah.
your confused self. And then his father is there. What is his stance?
Mm.
Co-parent together, two broken people are trying to develop this child. And it's a mess. It can be a mess. But if you really sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, you know what? I know why my kid do this because I do that. I function like that.
Yes.
Accountability. Now you're able to redirect.
Unless you have it, y'all have that agreement. Because I know some people have an agreement of how they want to co-parent their kids without having a relationship, whatever. So I'm not. It's no shade to anyone
Yeah,
that does
I am one of those, and
that.
it's best for it. It has been proven to be best for my children. That no relationship at all has been proven to be best for them, and it's peaceful that way.
Yeah.
I think they're more productive. That's what works for me. Somebody else, co-parenting just may be the right thing to do, but
Yeah.
also, the overall decision needs to be what's going to be best for that child. So
Yeah.
absence is makes a great deal of difference. And
When you say that, do you mean in terms of the other parent not being in the picture?
yes,
Because yes, that's my personal experience. My eldest daughter is not my husband's biological daughter. So that's not, so she has a separate father, and he's pretty much been non-existent, no shade. But I've dealt with him when she was younger, and I just was like, it's better to if you just go bye-bye. And I didn't say that to him. I dealt with it, but I prayed about it.
yeah. But imagine what strain the child goes through to watch you basically begging or promoting for somebody to be in their life.
Yes.
That's more damaging than, in my opinion, that's more damaging than they just being absolutely gone and that child flourishing and having other support systems that come into their life. But
Man,
that's a That's just a personal opinion of mine.
Yes. You have to choose what's best for you. We just speaking on our own personal experience.
Oh,
But
I don't want to like I ain't booking her. She want me to get rid of my baby dad. No.
nah, I was just about to say, if you need some clarity on that, she's on Facebook at Convy Session. And there's a button you can book an appointment. So I want to take questions before we go. And one was from Aaron. This is a question. So if anybody has questions, pop them in before we go. But Aaron says, how are we teaching our kids to reach out for a life coach or therapist without having a negative feeling on you as a parent?
Okay. So this is good. I have been getting an influx of kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with y'all. There's a lot of kids who are just frustrated with their parents. And a lot of kids are frustrated because their parents are trying to parent them from a place that they do not need. So parents have to be okay and develop that relationship with the life coach to say, I am trusting you with my child. One thing I attest to when I say this, unless it's a life-threatening emergency, I am not communicating with you everything that your child has said to me.
Yes.
They need to feel like they have a place where they can trust someone and be honest about their feelings so that we can actually deal with it and heal it. So as a parent, I say scoop out the person that you will trust your child with and encourage your child to say, it's okay. I give this person permission to speak to you. I give permission to be honest with them. And guess what? They're not going to tell me what you said unless you're going to do something to hurt yourself.
Yes. And please don't interrogate your kids. Let
Yeah.
them be.
Yeah.
He said, "Thank you, Dee."
You're welcome.
Is there anything that you wanted to add before we go?
I enjoyed the conversation. I think that this is awesome. To everyone that is listening or catch the replay, what you see is really what you get. These are the conversations that we have in our sessions. And when I say these are the conversations, these are things that are not off topic. You don't have to script while you're doing sessions with me. We talk about the raw, uncut things. We talk about the things that are embarrassing. We talk about the things that are hurtful. We talk about the things that you're absolutely disgusted with, because you have to have a place where you can be naked and be open so that wounds can actually heal.
Yes, the key to healing is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm giving a review. I have to say, in our year and a half that we've been together, I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
But you have helped me through depression.
Oh my God.
I've been dealing with depression since I was a kid. You have helped me through my anxiety. You still help me with, look, anxiety is a whole nother beast. But you have helped me through parenting, my marriage, and you have like literally held my hand at the beginning of my process of weight loss surgery, because I didn't tell many people, but I told you, and you have helped me through that. I don't know what my screen doing. It's doing something funny, but I really do appreciate that. And I want to say to anyone who is thinking about therapy or seeking a life coach, let this just, if you look, Dee, I'm gonna tell you, you can reach out to her. But if you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I encourage you to do it, because we all can use some sort of guidance in our life. And life coaching isn't just about, heal trauma and deal with depression and anxiety. It could be personal development.
Yeah.
It could be, I need to work on my financials, or I want to start my business, or, I'm trying to lose weight, whatever. It's so many parts to it. Sometimes we need God. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say. Cause this is you.
Oh yeah. No, I was adding on there, like spiritual, all of that.
Yes. So I encourage you guys to do what's best for you and take care of yourself, especially regarding your mental health and dealing with some of your trauma. But Dee, this is her information. I'm going to post it again. I'm going to just post your link tree because they can find you everywhere on there. So you guys can find Dee. She is a life coach. Her business is Convy Session, but this is her link tree, and it basically has all the information that you can find out about her and where you can find her on all of the different platforms. Dee, this has been such a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And I just want, I don't know if you publicly acknowledged it, but I want to congratulate you in your in your coaching. Got things that I can put under my belt and say, like,
Yeah.
oh, he's doing that. So
Yeah.
congratulate you as well and say, hey, maybe I'm not the person that a person will feel comfortable talking with, but she is. Make sure you guys check out her link tree. Make sure that you
And I mean, if you're on my page, you can see my information. Thank you for that. I did want to say this before we go. I did want to say this. I am I've been working at my job for 4 years. And in December I found out I was being laid off. Another company bought this company out. And I found out I was being laid off. And before I even knew I was being laid off, I talked about it with you. Okay. And you kind of like sort of prepared me for whatever the decision was going to be. And then it happened. I found out I was being laid off. You said something to me. I was not thinking about a business. I was thinking about what job I'm finna get next, what job I'm finna do next, what I'm finna apply for. And you said something to me. You said that's plenty of time to launch, because one of the things is I get a severance package. So I told you that I'm pointing it out for a reason. But you said that's plenty of time for me to launch something. Because I found out in December, but I'm working all the way until the end of May. And you told me it's plenty of time for me to launch something. And I was just like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
Can I just say that the amount of guidance and pouring and praying you have done, I have launched my own life and wellness coaching business.
Period.
Something I didn't even think that I would do. And on top of that, I'm doing this, a live show. So can I just say that is what life coaching does? Is she was trying to guide me to see something different that I wasn't even thinking about.
Yes.
And that is what life coaching does. And I think on that note, we're gonna end. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for everyone that is watching the rebroadcast of the show. Feel free to leave your comments. Dee is tagged on my post. So you can also go to her page as well. If you have any comments or questions for her, reach out to her. If you like to sign up and do a session with me, reach out to me.
Yes.
You are not in competition with one another.
How can they find you? Make sure that you're plugging your. How can they find?
I am on the Whole You, and my stuff is right on the banner. So you can find me on Facebook at the Whole You LWC. That's short for Life and Wellness Coaching. You can find me on Instagram at Marquilla VSG. I'm also on YouTube where I share my weight loss journey and some other crazy crap. But I'm Marquilla Bolden on YouTube. But you can find my link tree on my page, my Facebook page, The Whole You. And that takes you all to all of the different places.
I'm just proud. I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to say this.
Thank you so much. And I do say it's because of you as well. So, but thank you guys so much. Tune in next week, same time, 7:30, and with another guest. Love you, Dee.
Love
I appreciate you.
you.
Bye-bye.